Diablo 4's endgame can seem a bit lackluster, which doesn't push the player to progress. So here are 10 ways to improve the endgame and other experiences in Diablo 4 with the player in mind. Heroes! Most of us can agree that some endgame mechanics can be a bit grindy, and have turned some players off. So here are 10 ways Diablo can adjust the endgame to make it more interesting and long-lasting for the player. Number 10. Paragon Ruins. This method would add a specific altar into the Helltide events that would see it cost a lot of cinders, but when you manage to get it, it provides you 2 Paragon Ruins that add 2 additional Paragon levels to your character. And if the character themselves don't have Paragon leveling, as of yet, they would keep them until they get access to the boards, and whatever ruins they have, they would automatically use them and gain access to X amount of Paragon points. These altars would be rare, and in the region of the event could hold 1 or 2 of them, but I believe this can be a huge reason players run Helltide events. Number 9. Divination Cube. First and foremost, this is a working title, but this is an item like the Herodra Cube in Diablo 2. But this is another type of idea. During endgame process, you will identify that you have a ton of items that you don't use, especially unique items that are the same item but different stats. You could take those items and combine them in the Divination Cube to improve that item. Once you combine them, it will allow the item to re-roll the stats and item powers, but keeps the same special affix but re-roll the stats. It gives an opportunity for the player to find multiples of one item, and use the cube to improve those items over a period of time. It can make some amazing weaponry that could help the player's stats. 8. Capstone Dungeons. Capstone Dungeons in Diablo 4 allow us to gain additional difficulty in the in-game world by transitioning from World Tier 3 and World Tier 4. These World Tier levels add additional XP modifiers, higher loot potential, and more. I do believe that players would love to get World Tier 5 and World Tier 6 as potential, and so on and so on. And World Tier 4 can be very difficult at first, but as you progress you will see that it gets easier and easier, and eventually you can run down world mobs quickly. So, this idea is simply just adding more world tiers with added XP boost for Paragon boards and higher tier loot. Number 7. Cooking. Hear me out before you stop watching. Diablo has never really introduced this type of mechanic, but throughout our adventures we find random creatures wandering the world. Why not use the ability to cook their meat? Killing a wild animal or a specific type of enemy gives you a chance to drop some meat or other food sources. And you can use that meat alongside some plants to cook yourself a meal that could add more buff stats to your character for X amount of time. It's not a mechanic I think many would identify as beneficial, but based on some other games that use similar mechanics, it makes a huge difference. So, if you plan on running specific hard dungeons, why not take the opportunity to gain damage, defense, and or a speed boost with X amount of time, alongside your potion and incense. Number 6. The World Stone Socket. This mechanic would take time, but the purpose behind this can generate an unbelievable gem that could be socketed into one area in your gear. The purpose is for you to make your own shard of the World Stone, and it would require the max stack of all gem dust you hold in your inventory. For example, if you hold 24,000 gem stacks of all of the gems, you can use all of those up to combine and make up a fragment of the World Stone that would bring you a massive boost in stat and could even provide your character with a special power that is only provided by the World Stone itself. However, the downside to this would negate you from using any of the gems on your gear. But regardless of that, this would be a really cool potential for you to hunt the fragments and try your best to get top gem in the game. Number 5. Stronghold Modifier. This recommendation is more based on new seasons that come up. Not necessarily the endgame, but usually falls under the endgame concept. Every season, instead of completing the same strongholds repeatedly, why not add modifiers on those strongholds to make them different every time? From enemies, required tasks, player effects, and more. The biggest draw is the potential to get different weapon types or special weapon variants. This would add variety to the strongholds to give the player something different every single time. This way, once a new season comes up, we can look forward to the strongholds as they will be different and could have a chance to provide us with much better gear. Number 4. Hidden Dungeons. We already know that dungeons in Diablo 4 are in abundance, but in the case of hidden dungeons, these would show up in the world randomly under your own feet. What I mean by this is that while you are running in the world, suddenly the ground underneath you cracks and opens up, and you fall in, thus discovering a hidden dungeon. But the benefit of these dungeons is that each one of them will have an independent and unique boss with higher potential to drop higher tier loot, equivalent to the world boss and or the Paragon Ruins as described in point 10. However, this dungeon could also be one you can leave from. If you fall in, you don't want to do it, simply have the option to leave. But these would be rare in my opinion and should be a special event when it happens. Number 3. Altering Attunements. As we've seen, we've always been able to readjust one affix on a weapon to whatever random one we can get. However, once we do, you can no longer do another reroll for another affix. This is where I believe a new attunement item can come in handy. Only accessible to be potentially dropped during world bosses or world events, but this item, just like the Scattered Prism item that allows you to add additional sockets to an item, this would allow you to use it once to adjust another affix on any weapon, exempting unique items. This would give a reason for many to run world bosses and or legion events. One thing to note, this is not a guaranteed drop though. This would be a higher potential drop such as 70% and would give the player a reason to continuously run these world events. Number 2. Cow level. It's no secret that players love the cow level in Diablo 2, and frankly was one of the WTF moments that had us wanting more, and I mean much more. Diablo 3 had a cow level which was named not the cow level, so players in Diablo 4 have been in search for this mysterious level. We have yet to find it, so this point here is simple. Add the cow level. Before we get to our number 1, I ask that if you are enjoying this video to please consider leaving a like to the video and a sub to the channel, and letting me know what you think so far in the comments. Number 1. Hell Sigils. We already know the Nightmare dungeons can scale depending on the sigil powers. However, there could be some adjustments that would make them better. For example, a Hell Sigil would work off of an existing Nightmare sigil and improve its rarity, while at the same time reroll the modifiers to the dungeon, but not letting the player know what they are before entering. Adds more unknowns for the player. In addition, the Hell Sigil will add a small buff to your character, from simple attributes enhancements to buffs that will last for as long as your character existence. The biggest thing with these Hell Sigils is that the difficulty must be high, and has a small death limit. The Hell Sigil would give players random modified dungeons with difficult enemies and a massive reward that lasts on your player for good. Those are my top 10 recommendations for improving Diablo 4's endgame. What are your thoughts? Would these benefit the player in the long run? And if you could improve anything, what would it be? Let me know in the comments. If you can, please consider leaving a like to the video and a sub to the channel, and a comment goes a long way. Make sure to follow our Twitch at twitch.tv/HealPleaseHeal as we stream every Friday and Sunday. Thank you for watching, and remember to heal, please heal.